Sin, a series concept by Sutoratera Projects and Ziva Works, was recently acquired by Jim Iyke's Sixth Sense Movies and is being developed into a series. It's just one of the many projects Jim Iyke has come up with over the years, and there's much more in the pipeline. Jim Iyke gives a background to the massive project in a chat with media.
We know it's a series and different stories will come out of the series. Tell us the main plot of the.
Basically, I think a little over 5 months ago, I decided my company Sixth Sense Production was going to go into a full TV series, develop some IPs. So on that quest, I made a broadcast on social media. What I wanted to do primarily was work with young talents, people that have amazing ideas that were looking to partner with an already structured company for development. And we had so many entries. I probably had about 152 entries from different writers and developers. My team looked through it and were not exactly impressed. What I wanted was I wanted them to bring me the synopsis, the idea behind the idea, so to speak, of each of the IPs, and none of them kind of captured my attention long enough. But I heard about this group of writers in Abuja called Sutora. It's headed by a gentleman called Jim Iyke. And I scheduled a meeting, we met in my office, and they talked about 6 IPs. Of the 6 IPs, I narrowed my option to 3, and of the 3, we ended up with Sin. Now, Sin is peculiar. Sin is unlike anything that's been portrayed on our side of the divide. Everybody has always been careful when they approach the art of filmmaking. For me, it's not the craftsmanship that everybody has abided to. That's termed as being conventional. For me, filmmaking is an art. And if you're not dealing with socio-economic, socio-political issues, then I think somehow I felt personally that the mantle of this gift has been lost to me. It was very important for me that I delve into, I portray certain issues in our society, in our culture, especially that I think I could export to the world outside. There's certain controversial subjects that's already prevalent in the world. In the likes of, for instance, Bad Comment, where we delved into the ecosystem of social media. The drug problem in Nigeria, as we all know, has become quite an issue. It's become what it is, an epidemic of sorts, of unimaginable proportion if you don't begin to delve into it. I decided to visit that subject. It's a very delicate subject. Everyone is always profoundly sensitive about it. That's what Sin is about, how this has eaten into the fabric of our community, how it has eaten into the fabric of our youth element, of our GDP even. The untold stories of so many people that are hooked on drugs that have not yet found their expression in mainstream portrayal of this issue. Especially the peculiarity of how it transpires in Nigeria. And that's what Sin is about. It's a gritty, dark, sombering portrayal of the drug issue in not only Nigeria but Africa as a whole. How it affects us personally, individually, as a consensus, how it affects us economically, the powers that be that are part of these conspiracy theories, the so-called elites that are profoundly affected by it more than the others. The people, for lack of better, craftsmanship of employment, have to delve into with people that are totally formed by circumstances. So the wide array of subjects, I think, is what informed this amazing story. And never do anything or create anything that will not provoke debate, is not an issue that either seen through the lens of a satire or a gritty portrayal of a subject that will force a conversation. I think that is my mantle, that is my responsibility as a filmmaker. So when I heard it, I immediately knew that this is the title I want. Again, instinctively, just like my previous titles. I took it. It took some time to walk through the nitty-gritties of ownership, of acquiring that. I managed to, 610 managed to acquire the right barely 2 months ago. And we set sail immediately, the process in the fields of acquiring what we need to tell that story. Naturally, the first person that I talked about it to was Moses Inwan, my long-term partner in crime, creative partner in crime. And I said, hey, I want to buy this. He viewed some skepticism at first and said, hey, he doesn't think. I said, okay, you may not see the vision now, but I'm a man that's totally swayed by these things most times, and I want to buy it first, and then we have this conversation later. So when I was done, when I applied it for 6 and we started again and looked at it, then I also went through 2 drafts of rewrites. I had to rewrite it to fit the vision that I wanted for it. We had to research more, delve into that very ominous dark world to come up with the part of the story that's untold. And when we're done with that, I took it again. I thought this reappraisal might give him a sense of perspective of what we're trying to create. And after he saw it, he was totally in love with it. And given the schedule that we have the rest of the year that's extremely busy, this is the only time we could make that movie. We could make this series. I like the fact that I didn't go to forge any partnership. That's not how I do business. I wanted to create this solely, bring the right people with the right skill set, bring some of the most gifted filmmakers on our side of the divide to be part of this journey with us. So at the end of the day, when the soup is cooked, I can decide who comes to the table to eat with us. And that's exactly what we're trying to do now. This is totally funded by 6 cents. The ideal at the end of the day is to decide what direction, financially or business-wise, I will go. But we also wanted to possess entirely and independently the creative process. And that's what you see here. Some of the most gifted people in Norway are making this with us.
Talking about the gifted people, we've seen Moses Inwan, we've seen Robert Young, and Badmus, Rugged Man. Can you just some other stars that are featured in this movie or part of the crew?
The intriguing thing about Sin, it's an ongoing creative process where there will be many cameos. It's so hard to nail down what cameos we have going right now because it's a constantly evolving story. You don't know who's going to come next, who we're going to invite to be part of this family next. And that is the intrigue, the element of surprise, the element of intrigue, the element of suspense, the element of a never-ending road. There will never be a Rubicon. There will never be that part where we stop and people begin to wonder if we'll come to a dead end. It's transitional. It's always in motion. It will keep people talking about it. It will keep that conversation being pushed. It will keep people wondering what's next, who we're going to bring on board next. And I think more than anything else, that is our trade secret that I don't want to reveal right now. But we've penciled a wide array of subjects, top flight actors and entertainers and socialites. It depends on what direction of the subject matter that we're dealing with each episode. I think that's what's going to inform who comes to be the cameo of today.
Okay, in bad comments, you treated the society vice of bad comments on social media and bullying. In this scene, can you mention some of social vices you're tackling?
Exactly what I said prior. It's a drug-related issue where children of circumstances sometimes, and the choices and decisions we make is what goes on to forge who we become. It's a story of a tragedy that's visited on an unsuspecting person that's totally an innocent, someone that's totally naive to the ways of life. But because she was forged into a space of someone that already has accepted and embraced that way of life, she had to be forced to become. It's a story about becoming. You don't know what you can become if given the dynamics of different perspectives of life. You might find yourself stronger than you actually think you are, or you might fold under pressure and go underwater, under the current. So it's a story about life. It's a story about human endurance, about resilience, about us constantly discovering who we are down the road of this life. And that is what it is. It opens up with a totally naive, innocent individual that became somebody that was totally, unprecedentedly a survivor. It's also the story of how far a mother will go to protect the ones she loves. The fiercity of a mother, the strength of a mother, the strength of a woman, and the dark part of us that we leave unexplored because we've not come into something that will unravel that part of us. We don't know who we are. I dare say, I think the most brilliant philosopher is yet to discover who we are. So circumstances shape us, circumstances forge us. The decision and choices we make, we eventually become who we are. And that's what sin is about.
Moses gave us a teaser into what Back Comment Part 2 is coming. Can you give us an insight into what's going to happen?
Part 2 is amazing. I've been on that journey for 6 months. I know when I said Back Comment was amazing, some of you would have been there.
No, we didn't.
Oh yeah,
No.
Here it comes again. But we created the best content ever. I don't care what you heard, what anybody's saying. Somebody asked me, why didn't you make a MV, what's it called again? AMVCA. AMVCA is a 2-hour content. Okay, all the titles have to be under 2 hours. Our movie is well over 2 hours. I think it's 2 hours, 20 minutes or something like that. And we all know that if Back Comment had made it into that fold, there would have been no rival. But the truth is that sometimes it's an executive decision you take. What weighs above whatever situation that you are, the bigger picture, so to speak. We're asked to go cut down the movie to 2 hours to fit into the criteria of AMVCA. And I respect that value, mostly. But I also weighed my personal reserve about that kind of decision. By the time you cut out 20 minutes of a fast-paced, mobile movie like Back Comment, I don't want people to question whether we deserve the award or not. Trust me, it will be a decision. Well said, so expect this. Okay. So it's a decision I didn't want to leave. So above and beyond whatever accolade or applause I could have gotten putting it on that ceremonial platform, I decided to go with my better instincts as a creative and not put it. So it is not what forges me as a movie creator, as a content creator. That's not what forges my ideal. People are moved and motivated by different things. Maybe the odd applause, the odd gift, the odd award here and there. That's not why I became a filmmaker. I became a filmmaker solely for the ideal of it. For me, it's not craftsmanship. The way the craftsmanship of ecosystems, for me, is an art. And I decide the value of my art. There's no award, there's no award that's yet created on earth that will decide the value of my art. So that's just how it is. Immediately to your question, the quest to again raise the bar even more is what we're doing in Back Comment 2. We're going to Dar es Salaam. This time is a multi-continental pursuit. I've already concluded talks with the tourism board of Tanzania. I'm off to Tanzania in the next 10 days to consummate that. We're in partnership. We're filming in Dar es Salaam. We're filming in Zanzibar. We're filming in Sharjah. Sharjah is the next emirate after Dubai. We're also filming in Lagos. We're bringing actors from different places. Again, I don't want to bring our wow effect and talk about that. But at the end of the day, Bacoming 2 will be shaped as a proper global Bible film, as one is, but with a higher culture. That's for sure.
Thank you very much.
Let's say in Nigeria today, what do you think the movie industry are lacking behind?
I've been asked this question so many times. I think it's a politician's question. It's for the people at the helm of affairs. Every time I delve into that subject matter, I sound like a politician anymore. This is not rocket science. It's not difficult to understand what our issues are. Again, with every sect in the Nigerian polity, it has to do with leadership. The day we understand that it is a consensus, unanimously pursuing one goal unequivocally, things get better. Because the pockets of interest is already exhibiting how amplified we are, how advanced we are. Other countries are struggling in terms of how far we've gone, not only musically, but film-wise as well. Again, the question of leadership. We're yet to have a leader that's running the affairs in that number one seat that recognizes the creative industry as a force to be reckoned with. We are totally informed and vested in the GDP of this country, that without us, there's no one that could have voted as number one economy. Prior to now, of course, that we've succumbed to. Is that the second or the third? Somebody update me, where are we now? Are we seventh? Nobody even knows where we are. That's how sad we are. But once upon a time, we're number one. And it was kudos was given to the creative industry as having a strong, say in that order. Okay, so we have a lot to offer. You understand? We're the undercurrent GDP. We're the ones that without us, there would have been total chaos. There would have been mayhem, so to speak. You know how many youth that would have had to take up arms and hit the streets, if not for the different opportunities and platforms that built them to make a secondary living. So that is who we are, is the leadership. They didn't recognize what California has no natural resources. But here they are, one of the richest entities or cities in the world. How did they make that happen? The creative industry. We have so much gift and yet lack the leadership for them to see the light and invest properly and get our financial institution to stop taking advantage of the creators and sit down and create grants and opportunities that will give us the liberty to do what we do best. Most creators are not good businessmen. God doesn't give you everything. He gives you one and takes the other, so the other person will have a piece. That is how the natural propensity of life has always been. But the truth of the matter is that the ones that run the affairs of this country financially are totally oblivious to the potentials of the creative industry. Once they make it one of the priorities of our economy, you understand that oil and gas will take a back burner. Truthfully, or at least they'll have a better run for their money. What is decisively acting as a rival or an as an alternative to oil and gas presently? It's not like we're in alternative energy, which has become the bedrock of every country's development now, especially the first world. It's not like we're in agriculture. It's not like we're not deeply involved in tech. So where exactly are we? Oil and gas that we know that in the next 30, 40 years will prove redundant globally owing to how things are going right now. Where are we going to be 30, 40 years from now? Nobody's thinking about it. And then the only alternative that God gifted us, which is the greatest human resources in sub-Saharan, is not being taken seriously. So there goes your answer as to what the problem is.
Okay, you say whenever I talk about this, sound like a politician. You sound like a politician now.
I warn you.
Are you planning to nurse to go into politics like your counterparts?
I went there and it was too dirty water for me to survive.
Okay.
Truthfully, I've never been a good swimmer in the first place, let alone dumping me in murky waters where I wouldn't even see. Politics, as it is known, is practiced differently in this part of the world. It's not for the faint-hearted. Nobody has ever said I'm the faint-hearted. But again, you must choose your battle as important. Where do you want to make a change from? You want to make a change because you're emotionally propelled and because everybody sees it as a place you should be? Or can you amplify your voice through your gifts? This is what I can amplify my voice with. Bad comment forced people to have a conversation. The skit we created forced people to sit down and rethink their practices, their involvement in that, in that public domain. That is the only way. It's our little quotas that make the difference as a collective. But individually, we must amplify that which we can offer. As a filmmaker, there's no other, prism or medium that I have for telling the ills or amplify the betterment of the society than this. So here, there's a drug problem. As we sit here, we can't claim that we don't know the odd addict or somebody that's hooked on drugs that is close to us one way or the other. Yet it's a conversation that's swept under the rug, conveniently. So this is the way I finance this. I involve myself into this controversial subject so that we can amplify these problems out. At the very least, force the people that make these decisions to have a conversation about it. There's a way this can weigh heavily as a series on people's mind as we know how debates take off. This is the gaslight. What you create as a creator, as a content creator, is a gaslight. So hopefully we will light some good-hearted people, some right spirits to speak about it in the right tone.
We're talking about you funding your project yourself. Do you fully fund your project yourself or you have partners?
Bros, I fund my project myself. Don't pretend like you don't know what works here. If I walk into a bank and sit down, they start telling me they take creative control. They start dictating to me, well, it's not like they're all totally bad, but you have to decide again how you want to operate. Do you want to operate with a partnership that takes totally your creative process? Do you want to be told what to, because he has to also nurse and nurture his investment. Don't forget. And in nursing and nurturing his investment, he plays to the whims and caprices of the investors, of the financial people. The financial people are not creatives. They are money motivated people. They are driven totally by profit. We're driven by a higher cause. I want to make money. I'm originally a businessman. I run other businesses. That's what I do. But once I get into the creative space, I leave my business acumen and understand that I'm a creative. The higher value, the higher purpose, the higher vision has always been to create a first-class content first. If I create a first-class content, I never have to worry about my profits or my returns. But we don't think in that order. If you're doing business on your partnership with a straight fellow that thinks money first before the creative, it's going to hamper and hinder your creative process. So for me, my motto, the way I always do business is inconvenience yourself from funding. Steven Spielberg said something that was amazing. He said, you elevate your craftsmanship to a point where, something along that line, it's not verbatim, but you elevate your craftsmanship to a point where you never have to put your money into the process anymore. There are people that believe in you enough to fund your ideas. I say Mr. Spielberg is right, but again, he's speaking for the first world. Nobody told him about the narrative of Nigeria, about Africa, that nobody believes in you until you're on the forefront of it. Okay, so Jim Iyke can walk into a bank and they'll listen to me. But did you know how hard I started, how hard it was for me to get the attention of an ED or an MD or somebody in the decision making? It was always the battle between my account officer and myself, like, oh, you're so good, you're so creatively brilliant, you should do this, give us a proposal, let me go talk to my bosses. I've written over 100 proposals. Every time the boss open it and see that there's no collateral to back up my claim, push it aside and go to the man that has $1 billion in his account. So when I figured it out, I decided my approach has always been wrong. Let me build my financial base, become financially independent, come back, recreate the process. Then I think at the end of the day, I can decide who I want to play with. And that's what we're doing.
Is there a relationship
Thank you very much.
between performance and this project?
Absolutely, it's dealing with a social ill. They are all common subjects that we want to talk about. Our next, and we're developing, 6 Sense is developing 4 IPs. We acquired 4 IPs. Sin is one of them. The next one is solely owned by 6 Sense, my production company. The second one is owned between Sneeze Production and myself. We're 50% respective owners of Ordinary People, which is, we're shooting that in the next 2 weeks. Okay, this is an amazing title. Trust me, the twist and turn of it is mind-boggling. All right, and after that, we're dealing with Madame. Madame is coming end of the year after I finish shooting Back Comment 2. So, what I want to do is just work with new talent. Like Back Comment, we discovered so many people, so many new talent, gave a lot of people opportunities. I believe that's where I am right now. In all titles, I'm just taking a back burner role. This one, I'm more or less playing a cameo. I'm not one of those executive producers that create a content and I want to be in the forefront of everything. I understand that our place right now, especially for me, I don't know about others, is to create opportunities. And I think that's what I'm doing right now. I could easily have written this to center around me. I don't think that's the way we should be going at this point. There's so many gifted people out there, so many people that are looking for the right opportunities to show what they have. And as a custodian of this beautiful art, I think that's what it falls on me at this point in my life to be doing.